All right, we'll call this meeting to order and hopefully be efficient and have a really short meeting. So welcome, everyone.
Don't take that personally, Paul,
No, I like short
about the
meetings.
short meeting.
In fact, the best meetings are.
Well,
short
he's
meetings.
very articulate. I've listened to this gentleman before. So we are welcome to pleasure, or what's the right word? We are
Honored.
honored, thank you. Can you tell I had a long weekend? So we're honored to have a very special guest, Paul Lavella, who actually is a retired selectman, right? And also was the chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee, correct? And I know you've done other things in town, school committee?
Yes.
Many things in town. And I invited Paul to come to our meeting today under number 8, any other business that may properly come before the board. After sitting and listening to him present his thoughts about a senior center to the Littleton Friends of the COA last week, Wednesday. And he got me going. So I thought, you know what? I asked him if he could come to our meeting and share his thoughts with you people too. Because it's important. The Friends and the COA work together, you know, and actually we might come up with brainstorm some ideas from his thoughts today. So I will throw it out to you. Paul, are you in a rush?
Okay.
Because I did not have you on specifically on the agenda, or that's how I'm
There's two
justifying your being here.
We have
is
two
under-
questions in our family now. What are we? I'm sorry, what do we have? Time.
Oh. So, okay, if that's
won't
fine
for a
with
while.
you, or we could move you up on the agenda. if you would. Okay. So, all right, we do have a quorum. We are missing 2 board members, but we're good to go. And just another reminder that it's an open meeting, and we have to adhere to the open meeting laws. And I think I'm obligated to remind you about that as I do every meeting. So. Announcements. Do board members have any announcements for the general public?
Just want to say that the Forno luncheon was quite excellent today.
I wanted to also address that and say thank you to El Forno for doing that for this
I
community.
did, I said. during the
I did
first
too, but I think, you know, the people of Littleton need to know, I'm sure this was a first event for the town of Littleton, and Il Forno is known for doing a free luncheon at their restaurant in Fitchburg, and they have said this is going to be an annual event here in Littleton also. You just have to sign up, and I'm sure many people weren't even aware of it. But there were 3 seatings, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock today. And so those of us that were able to get either to 11 or 12 o'clock went and attended and thanked him. And he had support from town employees. The chief of police was there serving and collecting trash, and
Bunch
you
of
know,
firemen.
the firemen and policemen were there, and the park and rec was there, and other office staff in town. So it was really a nice event, very pleasant. And the food is always, Il Forno has wonderful food. So, thank you very much, Il Forno. Other announcements? Nope. All right, then we'll move on. We did not meet, obviously, in November, and on that agenda was an item to accept the minutes of the October meeting. So we need to accept the minutes from the October meeting, and we have realized since we got here, I did not notice it before, but if you look at your minutes, your copy of your minutes, it's titled COA Board Meeting Agenda. However, it actually is the minutes. So I would entertain a motion to make that correction.
Motion. So moved.
Thank you. And we will correct that to say COA Board Meeting, period, no agenda. All right, so we can move on now to approve the minutes of the October 15th meeting.
Move that we accept the October 15th minutes.
Second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the minutes of the October 15th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None. Moving on. Thank you. Okay. The Friends report. You have a copy of their monthly report, which is back It's not the meeting they had last week. But Nancy Levine is coming up to, you do have a microphone. Now that we have the little ones, I keep forgetting they're here even. So, Nancy's going to give us an update on what's coming up, I think, in the future.
Barbara McRae apologizes for not being here. She is at El Forno taping
Oh, nice.
for her show. Yes.
For her show, great.
And she made a point of asking me to say something, and I'm saying it from her and me and the rest of the board. We're very grateful to have the Council on Aging working with us. It's been very positive for a while now, but much better since Marge has been chair.
Oh, wow.
And it has nothing to do with her being a friend and a neighbor. Nothing. Nothing.
But that's very true. I think that we have made great strides in working together more effectively, and I'm happy about that. I'm thrilled.
And
actually,
after you
personally.
hear Paul talk, I hope we can get together even more. We have the North Pole luncheon tomorrow, Wednesday, excuse me. 100 people have signed up already, and there is a waiting list. One thing is going to be changing in the future, starting in January, and we discussed this with Liz before she went on maternity leave. We had people coming to our event. Normally, everyone would be invited, but Littleton residents are not being, there's no room for them to sign up. So Littleton residents will get priority. The non-residents will go on a waiting list, and if all Littleton doesn't fill up, the people on the waiting list will be called. Littleton residents are usually free. Non-residents will be $5.
That seems fair.
Next month in January, it will be a Spanish-Mexican luncheon. In February, the theme has been around the world. The first one was Italy, the second one was Germany, the third one was America. American, yes. And now this is still American, but it's the North Pole, okay? And I'm not going to give you the dates, it's in our minutes, because people have been calling so early that they want to get booked, and yet other people haven't even heard about it yet. So that is a secret, okay? The Book Buddy program is great. The numbers that are volunteering is growing. We are not meeting again for the Book Buddy again until March because of weather. In the past, things have been canceled, so we're going to start again in March. And last year, March was canceled because of a snowstorm. So we will do March, April, May, and June. Oh, wait a minute, June, no, not June, because school is ending. The third graders have come and decorated every month for us, and they're coming again the end of January to decorate for Valentine's Day. All of this stuff, it's going to be 2019, and I'm not ready for it.
Who's coming?
Third graders. Third graders.
Third grade, okay.
Barbara McRae still has volunteers to help her with the thrift shop. And we really just appreciate all that's happening. Mary gave me some Christmas cards to give to the children to do with as they wanted. Last year they sent it to veterans overseas. So that was pretty wonderful. And that's my report for today. Any questions?
Sounds good. I'm sure the luncheon will be very exciting.
It will be, and surprises too.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Anyone have a question or anything for Nancy? No? Ready to move on? All right. So, we have old business, and I've kept on the agenda an update from the Town Building and Space Needs Analysis Working Group, because that is a big issue, obviously. Space for the senior center, space now. I mean, this group is working on short-term solutions to problems, and then the long term. So under the long term category, Vertex has accepted and submitted an agreement to be the OPM for the concept of having a 3-building complex behind this building.
Who's this?
Vertex.
VERTEX?
TEX. And the library went through this process when they were trying to put together, a plan as far as getting a new building. And so we've done the same. The selectmen did grant us $25,000 to pay a group to come in. 3 or 4 groups applied, and Vertex was selected. And they will come into our meeting in January, and we will move forward on that. This is to look at not the library, because the library is a separate entity, and it's, they know they're eligible and they're going to be getting the grant. They have to have the town vote the funds to support it. But there's not an issue as far as the architecture goes and the costs and everything. That's all done for the library already. So this group is going to be looking at the idea, because people have thrown that forward, of having a community center in the back, as well as one building for a community center and another building for town offices, and then the library, which is a separate thing, but it would be 3 buildings back there. So we're just exploring that concept, but we're moving along, and so that's where the committee is as far as looking at long-term solutions right now. And then the short term, a lot of time in the last meeting was spent on the fact that we had a problem back in late summer, early autumn, where Park and Rec lost space that they thought they had with kids that were school hadn't started, and they still had their camps going, and they reserved the multi-purpose room, and that filtered on down and bumped seniors out of the multi-purpose room. So that caused a little bit of a problem back a while ago. And so this group has been looking into that, what happened, why, and so we're exploring scheduling issues and concerns about how it happened, as well as, okay, how do we make it better and what can we do on the short-term end of things? Because we know that a senior center or a space is going to take time to, change significantly, let's say. So that's kind of where this committee is at the moment, where the last meeting was, and that's just a little update for you. But I represent the group, and Liz usually attends those meetings when she's here. So that is the representing seniors. Yes.
Just as a side to the analysis working group, there's another group going on now as well.
I have that. Is that the two Marion's thing that's going on? I have that down to talk about later on, yeah. I brought the email, so, thank you. Okay, and an update quick. This was a carryover from our agenda on November, an update on the town meeting, because I just wanted to get it out to people. The town meeting in October, on October 29th, there were, let's see, I have a note here so I can speak to it, but Article 11 was an article presented by the planning board about the accessory bylaw apartment amendments, and that was approved. I won't go into the details of it here, but I just want people to realize that that was quite a long meeting that night, because a lot of things were going on. Article 12 also was a planning board a zoning amendment, and it was to amend the senior residential development bylaw. That was approved also. And then the third thing that happened, these are all affect seniors. The third thing, and perhaps the thing that took the most discussion, was the Common Smart Sewer project. And the proposal, or the request, was to have $2.2 million to have a full project design put together for that project. And that was approved. And that, the smart sewer concept for the town has an impact too on seniors and space being used in the future, in my opinion, in the future for the town, and maybe even affects, you know, there's some land, as I understand it, and it could affect senior housing too, perhaps, that might be able to be developed around the common area, as well as maybe a community center, who knows? But it's an important piece of things, and there's a lot going on in this town, but that was very important, and that was approved. So it was kind of a very nice town meeting, so I thought. But I just wanted to really update
Excuse
you
me,
on that.
You're going much too fast. Can you tell me, what was the second thing?
The second thing was Article 12, and it was a zoning amendment to amend the senior residential development bylaw. And the third,
I got that already.
okay. So that's it in a nutshell, really, without going into a lot of detail, but it's important information. And we have next on the agenda, are there any questions about that before I move on? Sorry.
It's interesting to notice that a number of places around town, individual houses have started to build accessory housing. So evidently, when this thing went through in May, people grabbed hold of it immediately. I know that there are 3 buildings down in my area around Goldsmith Street that have now got accessory housing built on them, and we found out there are 4 parents coming in to live and so forth and so on, which is interesting because it evidently was much needed and eagerly awaited, and they jumped right on it as soon as the bylaw went through, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, well, we know there's a huge need, so I think they were good changes that came about, and that supports that probably.
And what
Yeah.
did help was some of the things they approved at this last meeting clarified some of it so that it gave the planning board a better opportunity to argue for why not or to allow something, so.
Yep, I thought it was a good move on the planning board's part. Okay, now, if there's no other discussion about either of those items, the Awareness Subcommittee would like to just update us. The Awareness Subcommittee has been really working hard, and there's a lot going on, you know, that needs to be attended to and information that needs to get out, and so they're just Maureen's gonna give us a little update on where they are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, we developed a poster to try and bring awareness to the lunch that's held in the diner downstairs. And the posters have been sent to people, and they're being posted in churches and in grocery stores and other areas of that nature, which just invites people to come just to get the word out. And we're still working on the directory, but that's kind of on hold until this comes back from maternity leave.
Great. And with everything that's going on with housing, and after you hear Paul today, I think we're gonna be having some other things we can do with getting awareness out, so. But interestingly enough, too, I know that there's a couple from Shirley who now comes to the senior diner once or twice a week, anyway. They come to the Stretch and Flex exercise group in the morning, too. And I don't know how they found us, but it's, to me, very nice and rewarding to have others join us and be there, so.
I know maybe, and I won't name names, but I'm on the Fidelity telephone list, and one of the local residents goes to a Shirley church, but I think she does participate in the Littleton affairs.
Good.
When I call her,
Yeah, that's nice. It's very nice.
yeah.
So, okay. Any discussion? Anything from Maureen? Any that needs to be shared? She can take back. 2 of her committee members are here, and her committee. So 3 of her committee members are here. So, all right, let's move on to
Can we ask Couple of things.
Sure.
Maureen, has the committee considered ways that it can get public information into the papers on a regular basis to let people know what is of concern and what's happening and the need for seniors? Have you dealt with that at all?
Such as?
The information on the senior center, information on things that are going on that they need to be involved with, like the town meeting agenda items and so forth, explaining the agenda items, things like that.
What
that
paper are you
seniors need to
referring?
be made aware of, and I was rather amazed at the other day that I had talked to someone, and we thought that in this particular case, that it had been very clearly enunciated and everything was understood. The guy looked at me as though he, and this is a member of our church, had no idea of anything about it at all. And they say that you have to tell people 7 times before they really hear. And so I wonder, how much of that we're doing.
What paper, Bob?
Yeah, what paper?
Any papers, whether it's the Independent, whether it's the Action Unlimited, whether it's other things.
In the Sun, there's a fellow
here.
that represents Littleton by the name of Chris something or other. And I'm very disappointed. There's very little news on Littleton in it. He covers all the local areas around Lowell, mostly. Even though it's a Sun paper, it's not much on Littleton.
Well, maybe we
Well, I was
can,
thinking, the Sun too would be,
Yeah,
but most papers will only use what you give them, and you have to make it exciting enough so that they wanna come out and find out and rewrite it their way, but that's okay.
right, that's true.
But
Well, I
I'm
know
just
you-
concerned that, it amazes me, the things that seniors in the town don't know. It just goes right over their head.
Well, I agree. But they don't even understand the difference, I think, quite frankly, between the COA board and the Friends of the COA. I mean, and we keep trying to educate people about that even,
I have
so
a
that's
couple of
another.
other comments, but I don't wanna kill Paul's talk, so we'll let him tell you
Yeah,
that.
but-
I'll second him.
So to answer your question, Bob, I will bring it, Bob, to
Yeah.
answer your question, I will bring it to the awareness committee, and we can discuss maybe some things that we could come up with. But if somebody has a particular item that you would like us to work on, you need to really let us know.
Well, this was one of the things that we talked about when we talked about subcommittees. The awareness subcommittee was basically going to spread the word. That was what it was, its original purpose was. And I know you're doing some good things with brochures and so forth and so on, but that was not what at least my initial, and here again, it may be something that I understood and nobody else did, of what the
No.
awareness committee was gonna do.
They have their purpose on there at the top of their meetings all the time. Can I acknowledge Nancy? She's had her hand raised, and then Mary.
The Littleton Independent used to have a column that said COA, and it listed all the events that was happening, the ongoing that's happening, but they don't do it anymore, and I don't know why. I don't
Because
know
nobody's
how.
giving it to them.
I think that's because perhaps they're not getting it, the information. I think that goes back to when Pamela was in
Could be,
charge. I
yeah.
think it did.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, they
It's
need
not
to
so-
get,
They'd be more than happy to put it in, I'm quite sure, but nobody's sending it.
well, we have to then, we can look at that. That's a good thing for the awareness team.
Well, that usually comes, it would seem to me, should come from the director's office.
Right, and I think it did. And so,
That should come from Tina or Nicole.
well, no, I think it came
But
from the
sometimes
director. I think
That's
it
one of
came-
the things that we can do, though, is we can help them by putting together things with them and then have it go out from their office.
But it would be, it often was a little column, and it told about the events that were going on that week, the coming week.
Right,
So, and the director did do that.
right,
And,
that comes
you know,
right out of.
the director's
I believe
office.
that comes, right, or from,
And so,
Nicole, does that come from you?
no,
That's different, that's just
No.
the email I send out.
no, it doesn't
This is-
come from
But
her.
this is the independent you're talking about.
Yeah, no,
It's similar, but
it is similar. So it would be easy
So
to
you
do,
might wanna-
because it
you
is,
might
and
wanna
Nicole
check-
does a lot of the work.
You might want to check with the independent and see what they want and get that column reinstated.
Yeah. That's a
It has
good
to be filled
suggestion.
in every week.
Well, we can do that, and we can put it down too, to talk to Liz about that when she returns. So, that's a good idea.
Mabel Bergman years ago used to write for the local paper, and she used to attend our board meetings. Things that were confidential she did not put in the paper, but it was very informative
Right.
to have somebody
We'll,
here.
we had it, so we'll revisit that. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The awareness committee's doing, and you know, they're new too, so they haven't been together as a group for a long, long period of time, and so, and there's a lot going on. So you have to pick your battles, so to speak, you know, decide where to put your energy, what's the most important thing, and how we can do that. Welcome, Mr. Anthony.
Welcome.
All right, under new business, and I included this also because the name tags. I did send an email out. I had intended to talk about it prior to, you know, requesting you to go get it and explain it. This developed because we were at the wellness fair, several of us working, and Cindy Napoli happened to be there, one of our selectmen, and you know, I think it was Mary Picard said, you know, it would be nice for Council on Aging members to have a name tag so that when we were at events where we were, I see that, Bob, where we were at events where we were officially representing the Council on Aging, people would then know who we are, and it would help people to know their board members. And Cindy Napoli just took that, flew with it, sent a message to Anthony, asked about it. He supported it and sent it, it on to Diane, and that's how it all developed. It came about in October. Diane Crory was very busy. The name tags come through her office. And so she was in the midst of the elections. And I just said to her, Diane, we can table this. It's not urgent. Wait for the elections to get over, and that's why it was on, on the agenda for November. Then you have since received, I have mine, so I can show you what it looks like.
Mine's in my bag.
Okay. And so, but, so if you haven't gone in, I understand the machine's broken right now.
She supposedly, I asked Linda just before I came up, and she said that she's out today, but she said that she got a part, so it may be back up running.
So, just so you know. But that's how it all came about. It seemed very sensible to me too, so, and to Anthony, and so we moved ahead with it, and Cindy Napoli thought it was a great idea. Just wanted to catch you up to date on that. So, thank you. Okay, you're moving along very quickly. And you weren't here when I introduced Paul Avella, and Paul, let me just catch Anthony up since we're moving along so well. But Paul was talking to the Friends last week at their meeting, and I happened to be there. And he was talking about a senior center. And he had a very motivational talk, I thought. He got me going. So anyway, I invited him to come and to share the same talk with the board members today.
Nice.
So, okay, Patty,
But
Littleton Housing Authority update. Where are we? What's happening?
what's happening? Well, most people probably don't even realize, or they forgot that every month I trip my little body over to the Little Housing Authority and attend their board meeting as a rep from the Council of Aging. And they had a special meeting in October. So I went to this meeting, and Lisa Larrabee, who is the director over there, had a special meeting with the residents over there. And it was an interesting meeting in that it really was geared toward the residents as well as making an announcement that she had to make. That's a state facility, not a town one. So they get money from the state to do capital capital money, and they do a lot of funding and updates. And that building was built back in the 1980s, so it needs a lot of loving attention. So she spent a lot of time talking about what they need to do. And of course, the residents have a lot of input into what should be done first. And of course, everybody has their priorities, so it's very interesting to listen to. And it's senior housing. Most people have very limited income, get behind on their rent. But now the state is cracking down and saying, you need to set a plan for them to pay their back rent. And if they don't pay it, you need to start eviction proceedings. So it's gotten very serious over there, which was very hard to hear. They get a 14-day notice, and if they don't start the plan, payment, very serious troubles over there. I felt really bad for the folks. Lisa now is going, she's also in charge of the Groton Senior Housing. She's now going to be in charge of the Westford Housing as well. So she's going to be covering 3 communities, which is going to limit her time in Groton and Littleton because she now has to cover Westford. I'm sure that's going to have an impact because of less time in Littleton. Her assistant over there, Mandy Dinsmore, is going to spend more time here, but she can't make any decisions without Lisa. So I kind of foresee a little bit of a problem with Lisa not being on board here as much as she is. They are running into, like any senior housing, you know, this one versus that one, you're taking care of her apartment more than my apartment. So there's a lot of issues going on over there. When they have a board meeting, there's only 3 or 4 board members. Residents come and there's an open period, but they really don't say much. They prefer, the board prefers that issues come to the director privately versus being spoken at an open board, which is a little different. They issue a, the residents issue a complaint. It goes on a monthly report, and then it's decided, you know, they get a phone call. They have to be notified when to go into their apartment. But Lisa has the authority to go into their apartment without their permission, which is a bit of an issue. So there's all kinds of dynamics going on over there right now. But I think the fact that she has to now spread herself thinner is going to be difficult. It's very hard. Then you think of that building that's so many years old. They didn't even build enough or plan for enough parking places for the number of apartments that are over there. So one of the things that I have spoken about when I deal with the planning board or this new study that's out is whatever you're going to build, particularly if it's for seniors, you need to plan for parking places as well. That's a big issue. So going to these board meetings over there is very enlightening. Very, very enlightening. I do get feedback from them, so like when I met with Judy Barrett the other day, I focus on the senior problem first, and then I'll deal with, as a citizen of Littleton, what we can do with that property up near the train station. So I'm kind of double dutying myself and saying, okay, what do we need to do? What could you recommend? So it's a very interesting thing to have to go to this. Should I leave the board, whoever would want to go to the Littleton Housing Authority really needs to be open-minded to the various problems that occur over there. It's quite different from being in your own home. Quite different, but definitely well worth going to. They have a lot of perspective over there.
Do they have many on the board?
No, they do not. There's not even a resident on the board.
There is now. There is now.
The new girl, I just met her the other night. I didn't have a chance to talk to her.
Yeah, the selectmen and the housing authority board.
Yeah, Chuck is on, I just met him.
Chuck was the meeting before, and then,
Sonia,
Sonia Lodge.
is she a resident?
She's a resident.
Okay, good. Okay, now there is.
How much decision-making do the people on the board have, or are they basically just advisory?
No,
Just direct
I wouldn't
control?
say they're advisory, they tend to double stamp, just rubber stamp what Lisa says.
Well, it's gonna be tough, obviously, if you have a 40-hour week and 3 places to be, that's like, if you're dividing it evenly, it's 13 point something hours, you know, in each place each week, and so I don't know how, you know, she's gonna has to become a master juggler, I guess. Lisa might have to.
Groton is a lot smaller. I don't know the size of Westford.
Large.
I'm sure it's much bigger.
Yeah,
Large.
so,
I think
Well,
Westford's more solvent.
we appreciate the fact that you do go and attend and keep seniors in your mind. And I know there's a lot of people that come to Stretch and Flex, for example, from that group. They come over, walk down to this building, you know, for that group. So a lot of them do participate in things here. Well,
That
That's
building
tough.
over there could be impacted by what may or may not be done downtown with the sewer project.
right.
If they didn't have to have, you know, septic in that area, they could do something to improve that aspect up on Shattuck Street. Because Keith came one night to the meeting, over on Shattuck Street, when they were talking about the septic system downtown. He talked whether or not that would have any impact on Shattuck Street, which would eliminate septic problems over there, which was a thought in his head. So, you know, you learn a lot by going to a meeting like that over
It's
there.
disturbing to hear that people are having difficulty paying their rent, though, you know,
That is
upsetting.
really sad,
Yeah,
you
it is
know, I
sad.
mean, to have to put somebody who is in
Right.
such dire straits on a payment plan when they can't pay the rent in the first place, and say, you gotta pay something when they probably can't. And to think
And-
that you have to start eviction proceedings.
To have eviction.
It's really sad.
It is. So you don't know how it got there, you don't know the history and so, but anyway, it's still, I mean, who knows, if there hasn't been a, you know, firm, people might have been taking advantage of it too, you don't know that, though.
But it shows you another problem for seniors in the town.
Correct, so. Well, thank you, Patty, thanks for the information and thanks for being so attentive to that. You wear a lot of hats and attend a lot of different functions representing the COA, thank you. Okay, and the next one that she also does is the Minuteman. Minuteman has, recently sent out their annual report, which Patty's gonna update us on.
Well, I got this annual report, and I know Tina received it and she photocopied it. I don't know, it must have taken a walk from the COA office, because she copied them for you.
I don't know where they are, we can't find
And it
them.
has great information in it about who they are, who they serve, and the percentages of different things. So we'll get it printed and have it available for you. But this has great information about Minuteman and the services and how they, what they cover for different towns. Individuals and families served by town in 2017 to 2018. Littleton, 717
Residents?
Residents, yep.
Participants. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. So I mean, this is just, when you take that and you look at our town, and you look at housing in our town,
We're not a big town,
we're not a big town.
no.
And, you know, I go to these planning board things and I attend this steering committee thing and what can we do? And at my meeting the other day with Judy Barrett, I was there with another individual who said, we don't want to build any more $700,000 homes in this town. We need something else. And it's amazing what you learn going to these things. And then I go over there to Shattuck Street and I hear that. I want to go home and cry. It's very sad. And I look at myself, I'm fairly comfortable, but I would like to leave my house and not have to shovel or mow grass. But there's no place for me to go in Littleton. So you think about
And
a lot of
unfortunately, that
things.
is the reality.
Bob's been trying to get his hand up there. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just curious, for a long time, I've heard about Minuteman and the things it does and the number of people. And I'm kind of asking this to Nicole and to Tina. Is there a duplication of what we're doing with what they're doing, or are they two separate types of things that are happening?
They're two separate things. We try to complement each other and supplement what they can give. And there's, income guidelines. We don't have income guidelines.
But there's not we're not trying to duplicate, or they're not trying to duplicate.
No,
what we're doing.
it's very much different. I mean, they
Okay.
provide like the personal care homemaking, the laundry service, the personal response things. The things that we don't provide, but then we try to work together and give a friendly visitor to support their plan, that type of thing.
Okay, thank
Did you
you.
say, Nicole?
Yeah.
That's it.
In fact, I received a copy of the report also, and there's another sheet in here which specifies a little bit more, breaks it down, a lot of the services, but, and it's good information. It helps you understand what Minuteman does, and they put a dollar amount to that 717 residents of Littleton, and they said it was a total value of $979,180 for the year that they
For
provided.
Littleton.
For Littleton, correct, a dollar amount. Now, don't ask me how they arrive at all those figures, but anyway. So the information is good, and Minuteman certainly is actively involved in this community. And I know Tina and Nicole, and of course, Gail. Gail works for Minuteman, in our diner. So I know they're all very much a part of that. And again, we thank Patty. She took over being the representative for the COA board with Minuteman and attends a monthly meeting there. So
They provide legal services also.
they do, and maybe
Yeah.
we could copy this. It does, because it
Yeah.
breaks down. I'll read you just for your information and purposes, and if you would like, I can give you a copy of this. But they break it down to care management and in-home care, consumers in Littleton, 114. Caregiver support and options counseling, and they list, protective services, information and referral, Shine, health benefits assistance, Meals on Wheels, senior dining, clinical eligibility screening, long-term care ombudsman, money management assistance, transportation, and senior citizens law project. I didn't go into read everything for you, but those are the headers that are on this piece of paper.
Marge,
Yes.
would that be something that in Bob's trying to get awareness into the papers, what if we asked if the Littleton Independent could post that?
It's the same, the categories are the same for all the communities, so.
Right, but
Yeah, but
So
that
that
kind of thing,
people-
yes, there could be articles written that could be
Right.
put in newspaper.
So that people
saying
would
the things that
know.
seniors do, yes, and it would be more information out.
There you go.
This is what we pay the 2,500 for? The town?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
2,500 what?
We pay $2,500 a year for that, it's a part of the budget, and it
They go per
aids them in doing their work.
it's per resident, I think, per head. Is that
We
how
could
much?
actually have a person from Minuteman come and speak sometime too, if you wanted that, so to learn more about it.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
It's on a spreadsheet.
Because that would, so if that's of interest and to board members, we could arrange that. Thank you, Patty. Any other questions for Patty about those two areas that she covers for us?
That's a lot.
It is a lot. She's
That's
a
a
very,
lot, Patty.
she's a very busy lady.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we're down to reports, barring and no other questions or anything. Tina? Or the budget monthly reports, sorry.
There
And
are
we
no
didn't
monthly
have them.
reports, because they still haven't figured out a way to get them to the, to be able to use the accounting system. Anthony, do you know anything, if anything's been resolved with that? Because they can't get the reports out that we always got before with the accounting system, and they were so furious because it's evident that this new accounting system is not giving them what they want. Do you know anything about that?
Who's they?
They being the director. And she's been working with
Bonnie?
Barney,
with
Barney.
Yeah, and they have not been able to come up with the report, and I didn't know whether they had.
I'll follow up.
And,
I'll follow up
because
with Bonnie.
last I heard, they were just totally frustrated because they couldn't get the kind of things that we've always gotten. The MOT reports, the things like that, in a format by month, up to a year to date, and that kind of thing.
Drivers and
And they were having a very frustrating time, so I haven't been able to provide any reports.
that was provided only to help educate the board. Not that the board has any decision-making about that, but it was educative information to help us know, what's going on with transportation, stuff like that. So it was helpful.
I'll inquire.
Thank you. Tina now. No. Tina or Nicole, whoever is the
Or both?
lucky person. Yes, or both. If you'd like to both come up, we'll make room. I think Nicole's coming.
So, for January, we have, the addiction support group in January is canceled because it falls on New Year's Day. We have social anxiety group, January 15th and the 29th. Living Alone and Living Well, January 17th. Tina's caregiver support group on the 30th. Bridges is going to be there. And also an introduction to Reiki, with Kathy Benson is on the 30th from 11 to 12. That's it.
Thank you.
That's all we have for January.
Well, that sounds like a good amount, though.
Yeah.
And you've changed. Can you, I didn't make that announcement, but Tina
Oh.
and Nicole have switched offices, if you're looking for them.
Yes.
That's a little bit of a curveball for some people, so. Is there anything you want to say about that, or why, how did it happen, or anything about it? You just decided to do it, huh?
Yeah, we just decided, Tina was, up front by the reception desk, and so she was getting a lot of the walk-ins. So I'm trying to pull my weight, so people will come, I'll get some of the
They'll
walk-ins.
bump into you first.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's true, and there's another issue about space, right? It would be nice if the outreach workers had their own,
If
space.
we're both together,
Yeah,
yeah.
central space.
Liz was trying to get us both together up there, and when she couldn't, I said that I would be fine down there, so we made the switch.
Oh, that's nice, that's really nice to
So
share.
it was just that we
share
were
the
trying
wealth.
to implement it before Liz left, and Liz said it was fine for us to do that once, she was out. And
Great.
she got to see it because she came
Yeah,
in
she
that day
did.
when we did the switch.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh,
came
she's been in?
yeah.
Oh, well, fill us in.
I know she came in with the baby.
And you all saw the baby, and we didn't get to see the baby.
I know.
How's she doing?
Good, she looks great.
Good.
Yeah, she looks good, and
Oh, that's nice.
the baby's very cute.
I'm glad. I'm glad that she came in and everything's well.
Yeah.
Good.
She seems good.
We're looking forward to her return.
It's
And then
board
we're-
meeting day when she returns.
Is it?
I didn't notice that.
The
Yeah, she said
14th?
my first day back
Is
is
it
the
the
board
14th?
meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. That's right, I hadn't connected it, but I knew it was the 14th that she was supposed to be coming back, so, great, I'm glad to hear that. That's nice, nice news, we need good news,
Yes.
yeah.
Bridges is a group, right?
Is it in Westford?
Yes,
It's a-
Epic
it's a
Bridges
senior
by
housing
Epic and Westford.
group, right?
It's memory care,
Memory
all
care.
Okay,
memory
care,
care.
yeah.
Very nice program.
They're advertised a lot.
Yeah.
See it in the papers.
There's numerous funds throughout the state.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the change, you know, change is good. I've always said that, I always believe that. Sometimes it's hard, but it's good, you know, it just does stimulate other things, so yeah, so that's pretty neat, I think, so.
We're both happy.
All right, so, Paul, we invite people to come up to the table primarily because we had many complaints that viewers, this is televised, and viewers couldn't hear the guests if they were speaking. So please take a seat at the table
Yes, ma'am.
and enlighten us. So,
As Marge indicated, I did speak to the Friends last week. The way that came about, some months back, I wrote a letter to the selectmen and to the planning board and to the administrators, so Anthony has seen it also, outlining some thoughts I had. Now, it was pretty broad-ranging about so many issues in the town, not just senior issues, but amongst that certainly was a senior issue. Nancy and I have an opportunity to speak somewhat frequently. We're on the same street there on Grist Mill, so we're neighbors just about. And through emails and sometimes face-to-face, and then Nancy asked me if I'd go to see the Friends last week. And then Marge was there and asked me to come here today. So that's how I'm sitting here with you all today. I want to start out, if I may. I'm just going to read something to you, please, and then there's going to be a quiz.
oh,
Evaluate the feasibility, you can't answer this though.
oh, okay.
Evaluate the feasibility of constructing a multi-purpose intergenerational community center that meets the needs of all residents in Littleton. Now here's the quiz. Do we know where that came from?
Master plan.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yep. It came from the master plan. That was one of 67 recommendations that came out of it. And others that on the periphery support this same sort of thing as to what we look at in the town. Now, amongst this, we had levels of difficulty, duration, dollar costs, and priorities. We prioritized 3 ways: low, medium, and high. So it wasn't 1 through 67 that'd be unusable, but by low, medium, and high. And then the level of difficulty, as I say, and the cost. The cost is high. The difficulty is difficult, which is the most difficult of all our difficulties, if you will, and but a high priority. So when the Master Plan Committee put this all together, and then you may recall we presented it to the town in May of 2017 at town meeting. The planning board had already approved it statutorily, that's their responsibility, they did that, and then we presented it to the town. And if you were at this past town meeting, you may recall I stood up actually for the bylaw amendment on the housing and mentioned that we had briefed everybody that was at that town meeting at the very least about the master plan itself, and the town overwhelmingly accepted our report on that particular day. So what that tells me is at least the people who are paying attention, attending meetings and the like, the master plan means something. Now there's an implementation committee. Mike Zeldin is the chair of it. He was on the update committee with me. Anna Houston is the vice chair. She also, and a very new resident of town. In fact, she'd only been in town maybe a couple of months when I invited her. Some may say suckered her into getting on the committee. But anyway, the thing is, those two people I think contacts, and I'll circle back to the implementation committee here in a moment. As I said, we're about 1.5 years into the master plan now. And the time duration for what I just read to you is 1 to 3 years. So we're just a little bit over halfway through that period, if you will, and where do we really stand? Now I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine. When I was a young officer in the Air Force, a more senior officer asked, I was in a group, about 12 or so of us, and he asked this question: who would like to be a general officer? Well, hands went up. But the follow-on question to that was, who wants to do the work? Now I had to think on that a little bit. We all know what we want, but are we all willing to do what's necessary to make that happen? I asked those two questions to the Friends. I brought those up. But now I'm going to throw in a third one. Who knows what to do to get it done? And I don't mean that insultingly. Please don't take it that way. But I've asked about a strategic plan on how you may want to go about a senior center. I'm unaware of one existing, where that strategic plan has been laid out, coordinated, action items associated with it, the tactics you're going to use to go about that. To the Friends I mentioned, the library folks are a good place. Regardless of your position now at the new library building, put that aside, their tactics, their strategy, and how they went about getting to where they are today, so that very soon there will be a vote on whether or not to bond money or take money out of the budget, in the levy or go outside the levy, whatever that may be. Thing is, they had a plan, and they executed their plan. I think everybody here has probably talked one time or another to the selectmen, and many other seniors have too, said, we want a plan, we want a senior center. That's not a strategy, that's a desire. It's hard work, it truly is. That's why I added that other one, that second question, who wants to do the work? And you all have to be the advocates, and Tina was in the room for a little bit of what we spoke about the other day, and with Liz, and certainly Elder and Human Services, or Human and Elder Services, excuse me, has to be, a vociferous advocate for you all in this process. If not, it becomes extraordinarily difficult. But you are a governmental body, so you have, certainly with all your responsibilities, you have authorities also on how you go about that. Might you cause some people distress if you develop a coherent strategy and really put it to paper and then start to walk the talk, so to speak? Might you irritate some people? I'd say the answer is going to be yes. But if you concern yourselves with that, when you're being respectful and a well thought out plan, then it's something, what can you do? You speak to that person or people and you're trying to say, here's why we're trying to do it this way. You may or may not win them over, but that can't be your roadblock. If you use that as an impediment, you'll get no place. Dave's right here, you could talk, the library, I'm sure, had many of those impediments as they were going through. But yet, you know where you are today with it. So at the very least, I'd say at least study them on how the library folks went about it, and then maybe similarly start putting something together for the Council on Aging. If you don't and just keep saying we'd like one, we'd like one, we'd like one, maybe in someone's lifetime that's a president of the town of Littleton, that's yet to be born perhaps, but it just won't happen. That's true. Look at what the schools did, look what police did, look what fire did. Each division head went through what was necessary, laid out the plan, worked with the selectmen, worked with the town, and got the thing rolling. I haven't seen that yet. And if it's happening and I've missed it, that's bad on me. So that's my advice to you all, is to getting that together and sitting down, and it becomes one of your meetings, and not a regular meeting like today, but that you set aside, and it's going to be a strategy development process. Anthony's got nothing to do. Bring him in.
He's good at that. Well, we got David, who's gone through the library process here. We have him as a resource.
it.
We have Anthony as a resource.
And we know, and Anthony's a great guy. I'm
Not
teasing
that
him here.
not that he doesn't have much to do, but
I know, I'm teasing him here.
I
As you well
know.
know.
How many
Um,
hats is he wearing now?
But he does bring a wealth of knowledge also.
He does.
And as you just mentioned, Dave also has that. And I'm not saying that's the only model. Go out to some of the other towns. Like when we were doing the master plan update, I don't recall how many towns we reached out to. But we reached out to towns that were in various phases of their own master plans. Some that have already done it, executed, and it's moving along. Some that are just about to, and others who are also in the planning department, if you will. So I'd recommend that you think about that too, is go to the various other towns in and around the area, towns that are in different phases of their own process of bringing about a community center or a senior center. And frankly, that's another thing too you have to decide on. What do you want to advocate for, a senior center or that intergenerational community center?
Yep.
And that, put your stake in the ground at some point. Speak to other people, maybe have some open hearings where you bring people in. And I'm offering just a couple of different thoughts on how you might strategize and try to bring some of these things together and get some of those thoughts, get them down, memorialize them, and use that as your point of departure as you start going out. And as soon as you open up to public hearings, certainly you're going to get diverse opinions. Some very useful, some useful, just not as useful. And then you just, juggle with those and see how you bring it about. But step one, you have to decide that you want to do the work to see it and define what it is. You mentioned earlier excuse me, I'm sorry, put your hand in your face, hand like too shit. You mentioned what might go on in the backyard here at Town Hall, whether it's another couple of buildings or not. Okay, now I'm just going down a road of a personal opinion. I like global solutions. We tend to do things in silos in the town, but that doesn't make us lone rangers. Pretty much any organization is going to have a lot of silos. And truly, organizations that can really do global solutions are extraordinary. And just by the virtue of that word extraordinary means they're not ordinary. So we shouldn't feel too bad about it, other than let's try to do some things like that. But that ship has sort of sailed in a way. And if we look at our town, since 2001, when we opened up a new high school, a new middle school, Russell Street renovation, new fire station, new police station, and within a year or two, perhaps a new library building. So inside of 20 years, we'll have redone just about the entire infrastructure of the town of Littleton's government and its government buildings. Absent one, that center, whether we call it a senior center or a community center. We truly don't have that. And now our vision is it's not there at this point. So we have to create that vision and see what we want it to be. I've advocated with the selectmen, so I'm not speaking out of school to you folks, the DCU building on Great Road. Personally, I see dual purposed. And one is it could be a senior center, and it could be, I'll call it the new town administrative offices also. Frees up this building for many other uses. There's certainly renovation dollars that would have to be spent here, but then also at DCU. And some of those have to be sorted out. It's a two-story building if you haven't been in it. Now, there's a concern about loss of revenue, the tax revenue that the building generates, and that's a fair thing to consider as we look through this. But we've also talked about revitalizing the common. And if we want to revitalize the common and we want other people to come in and help us revitalize it, I'm of the mind the town has to show its commitment to revitalizing the common. When you look at the general population, where most of it's concentrated, along Goldsmith Street is where we have a lot of our population. The walking paths exist. I offer they should be improved behind Donlands and the like, when we talk about walkability of the common, for example. But we could go on, and that's just one possibility, one possible solution. It would take a lot of consideration and a lot of work. But the first thing I offer to you all is that the decision has to be made, not only do I want the senior center, but I want to do the work to get the senior center. And if you ask yourselves that and you go, I just can't do it, that's fair enough. Well, we understand. But realize then it won't happen. I really see you folks, this committee, if you will, being the committee that makes it happen.
I think my concept is it has to be a team effort,
Yes, ma'am.
with,
Yes.
it certainly does, with the Department of Elder and Human Services, obviously, the director, the Friends, and the COA,
Mhm.
all working together, to come together with this strategy and, figuring it out, and it is overwhelming to think about. It really is, and how do you break it down to be able to get the steps? And so that's perhaps where it'd be helpful to have somebody like Anthony and David, who's had some experience. I don't know your total experience at the library, but I know you've been involved, so.
You talk to the fire chief, talk to the police chief too.
Yeah, maybe, we could, something like that. I mean, they're out there doing all kinds of things. Saw them at the lunch today, so,
But what I mean is, they all knew what they had to do to bring about
Right.
their new buildings.
And it's totally foreign to me personally, so I need the guidance. And I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. I don't know, and guidance and help would be greatly appreciated, so.
And for all of us, that was the third question. Do we know what to do?
Well, that's the
I
third
do not.
question. No,
At this point, we
I
don't.
do not.
Yeah.
no, I think perhaps, I can't speak for other people, but I'm being quite honest. I don't know what to do. I go to these meetings and it's like, I'm not sure how to guide and try to do all this either.
At the
So-
Friends Board
We
meeting,
have
we
an
told
opening
Paul.
on the board, maybe Paul would like to join
Exactly.
us.
Oh, he's a snowbird now. He's one of those snowbirds now that he's retired. His wife is retired.
But he's not doing anything, he can spend the 4 months writing up the invitation.
Yeah, there's always
In
email
Florida.
Paul. Email Paul, you could.
Now, I have to be open and let you know what my rates are for consulting. I did tell the Friends. For the simple, it's $200 an hour. For the complex, it's $300. For the impossible, it's $400 For government, it's 500. But joking aside, I certainly would like to help as I can as we go through this. But the impetus is with you all. And, you can say, well, when Liz gets back, and that's fair enough, because she's the boss down there for that department. But maybe you already start laying something out.
Oh, we have, she has a lot of information, I know she does, she has, I thought I had some of them with me, we have a lot of blueprints from senior centers that have been developed. We have some information, but not a lot from a community center perspective, and, we have to think about lots of things, and what is it we want, and I think that's the first place. People have to come together and decide what's the best approach and what do we think will meet the needs of the seniors and other people in town. I mean, why waste space? Space is an issue and we need to be cost effective. So, is a community center the right way to go? I don't know, but.
And maybe, what you all can do, before you actually get too far down a strategy row is, at least lay out some timelines. By December 2025 or whatever, pick a year, it doesn't matter, the town will have one. And now you back up from that, what has to happen for that date to be fulfilled?
Right. Thank you, that's a great idea. Bob,
Well, I'm just thinking, Paul is asking for a very wide-ranging type of thing, which some people are, laughing at his rates, but people are gonna need to know how to do this. I don't know how the library did it, but the library got a group of people who really knew how to sell an issue. And they put together what they wanted. I don't know whether they did it with professional help or whether they did it as just a board, the library board. I kind of doubt that. And then they implemented, and this was partially what I was talking about before, Maureen, is that they got it out and they convinced the town that that was the way to go. And it took an awful lot of effort to get to that point of convincing the town that that was the way to go, so that now, pretty much, the library is a foregone conclusion, assuming that we get the grant. The town, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the town picked up the rest of the cost and the library is a done deal. But it took a lot of convincing to do that, and it took a lot of understanding of exactly what they wanted, why they wanted a separate building, why they wanted it visible, why they wanted, and I can name all those things. That's a tremendous amount of work that is gonna have to be done. I'm not sure just this board and the friends are gonna be able to do it, but I think that it needs to get a group together to start with that and move from there. And it is not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
so maybe we could somehow develop a task force, of combined members, friends, working with, I don't know, perhaps, the director and whatever, I don't know. But that's worth, I think, thinking about, and having the groups come together and work together.
Step one is you all have to say, we're committed to doing it.
Correct.
And that's not something you can answer here, because I think you really gotta reflect on it, because Reverend, you hit it, it's a lot of work, it's hard work,
It is.
and do we wanna do it?
Some of us have been talking about this for years and years and years, long before the master plan agreed to it, in terms of some form, either a multi-group
Yep.
building or an individual center. But no one has gone pretty much beyond saying, yes, that's what we want.
Well, it isn't like we don't have the data from the assessment done by UMass either to help us.
Right.
So we have, already, the
Oh,
town
we
has
have the
helped us
reason.
with,
There's no
Yeah.
question of the need.
right.
That's not
So,
the point. The point is that, you gotta have a group of people who are willing to take the time to sit down, to decide what they want, to then convince the town people that that's the appropriate thing to do, and where the money's gonna come from and so forth. and so
Well,
on.
I think Paul made a very good point. We need that vision. Is the vision a community center or a separate entity? So, what is that vision that we have for more space for seniors?
Right.
Maybe that has to be decided I think first, almost, you have to have just a group of people that are working on that and gather information to try to justify the development of that, whatever the image is, the vision is.
Right now,
So-
if the town planning committee that you're on is looking at, space committee is looking at the possibility of a 3-building complex, one for the offices, one for the library, one for the community center, then I think at this point, we need to start telling them what we want for that community center. And maybe it needs to have people from the Park and Rec group involved too.
They will be.
Because we're the big users.
That's coming. That's when I said that
I
that
understand
group is
that,
coming in
but-
January, they're gonna be
But
starting.
there's your building. And right now, it's just a statement, a 3rd building. How do we make it into what we want and convince the town that that's the way they're gonna go with it? And
See, if we went down that route, would the center, the mythical center be the 2nd or 3rd building?
Right.
So now, because I don't see us building 2 buildings, simultaneously.
No,
I don't, maybe we would, but I just don't see it. So now, where do you even get in the queue? So those are things that you'd have to kind of think through also.
And that's why this whole process that this committee is going through, having the Vertex working with us and guiding down the committee, and Anthony can correct me, he attends all those meetings, but that process will help us they will help us find an architect who will help and gather information about what is needed for senior space, whatever, and help develop that along with Park and Rec and put things together. So that's,
Okay, but
that
we-
part is in process, isn't
But
that fair to
regardless
say?
of the short term, if they're gonna tear this building down and put in 2 more buildings plus the library, and let's assume that the library's gonna go in where it's gonna go in as it's been planned, then you've got a town hall building, I don't wanna get involved in what that ought to be, small as possible. And then, the rest of it is going to be whatever. And the whatever is going to be, and, we need to say what it's going to be. And I'm not sure it's gonna be a 1, 2, 3 process, because if they tear down here, it's gonna pretty much be put them both up or put them all 3 up and,
I just don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
But all that has to be worked out, and that's what I think
But I think what we need to be focusing on is, what is that 3rd building going to be, and how is it going to fully be able to be usable by all the groups that are involved in needing it?
that's right.
Don't forget the school department, where are they gonna go?
Well,
Well, that's
yeah, but
being looked
school-
at also, trust
School
me.
department is small. Since I understand they've thrown out the Park and Rec people, they can use the space they took over from them and put the superintendent's office there.
Ouch.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went out on line too. See, I told you we shouldn't have these.
I thought you did it for effect, just to get some.
But, really, it comes a point at which we really need to do this. I hear exactly what Paul's saying. I just see the tremendous amount of work, and a group of people sitting around a table twiddling their thumbs isn't gonna get it done.
Somewhat less complex than this was Cindy Heitmeyer's efforts for a new track, if you may recall that, because even that's now some years now. But I recall Cindy, going around, and she and getting other people involved, starting with a petition. Who's going to be the first to sign the petition? And that petition was, we want a track in the simplest of terms, and went through that and worked very hard, formed the Littleton Track Association, and got traction that way, pun intended there. But still, organizational effort. She and her group are another resource that if they were,
Right.
you could tap them. If
And
she was so.
she's very much in favor of seniors and so forth and so on, so
Yeah.
she could be very helpful.
I wonder if the DCU building will be a good choice, even as a temporary place to go. Because when they tear these.
For who?
For us.
Oh, for us and not the town hall. Okay.
There's nothing's been decided as far as tearing buildings down, and I've had a chance to speak with PJ and we're trying to look at it at the global solution approach too. So with the study, not with the study, with the OPM, that'll allow us to now go out and get an architect, where we can have somebody who is in that field that can help us guide the citizens to the decisions that will need to be made.
Excuse me, don't use an acronym. What's an OPM?
Oh, owner's project manager. So anytime you do a potential building project in Massachusetts over $1.5 million, the
Right.
Commonwealth laws requires us to hire an
And
owner's
that's what this
project
is,
manager.
Vertex is.
So we went out to bid and we have on board, we just have to sign the contract, an owner's project manager. So now what he'll do is he will work, his company will work and develop a request for qualifications for an architect. So then we will bring in an architect, and that's when we'll explain to the architect what we're looking for, potentially looking for, and then they would meet with, similar to, I think, the library, meet with the various stakeholders, determine what we need as far as space in every area. They then would come up with some renderings and cost estimates, and then we have an idea of what would a new town complex be? Or maybe it's some building in a renovation to this existing space. There's a lot of issues that
But
you
you
have
see,
to
do
really
you
look
see
at.
this happening in pieces or happening as a whole?
It's tough to say, because everything comes down to this, it's a money thing, so, I think it would have to be pieces. To do a project like that with 3 buildings at one time would be a lot of money.
But that's what they've told us for years as seniors. And they built a firehouse, so that all the trucks are taken care of, but the seniors are still in the same situation. They're building a new library, but all of the seniors are still in the situation. That's always what's
But like
happening.
we always
end up
What
at the bottom of the
frustration is.
pile.
Yeah, like PJ mentioned, everything could kind of operate in separate silos, and people had to go out and do their sales pitch for their new location, where we're trying to look at putting a plan together, a true capital plan for our remaining buildings, library, senior center, multi-generational, whatever we determine that would be, and then addressing some needs for town hall, because we do have some needs here too, and it's limited what we can do. So, I know it's, you don't wanna hear it as far as it taking time, but it does take time. But I think for the first time, we're at least gaining some traction. Once we can get that OPM to get an architect and have an architect, I'm hoping things work a little faster, but it's still a long process. I think the library took a year from when they first started to when they had their plans. That's what Mark Rambacher actually just told me about an hour ago when I met with him.
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
that, though,
that-
we're 4+ years into the process.
Well, the whole thing started in 2008,
I think as far as when the architect was on board,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Now, the library went through this exact same process to get the architect and everything. So this process that the space committee is going through now, with Vertex being the group that's coming in, the library went through that too, in order to get their project going.
And there was a lot of other stuff that had to be done too. We were directed to post a number of surveys to survey the town, right? And when the first survey, I remember, right, the first survey didn't gather enough information, so we did another one. Okay, so that, multiple surveys to find out what the town really wanted, or what the people wanted, what seniors wanted, or what in our case, what people who wanted a library wanted to see. Okay, so there's a lot, it went way back.
You would have to, because you can't speak for seniors, guessing whether they want a mag center or a senior center type of thing, or a community center.
No,
So you would have, I would think you would have to do that, perhaps. So,
Well,
yeah, and that's a little bit of work, but that's another piece that has to be probably done.
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite, starting from like right today your first question would be, okay, who's on this steering committee?
A steering committee is a good term.
Right.
Too.
All right, and then you need to start gathering information, okay, what needs to get done to start something like that? Do we wanna go before the selectmen and say, okay, this is what we wanna do? Do you guys have any requirements that we need to follow? Speak with the master plan people, okay? Start asking questions.
So see, we already have some good thoughts out there.
So,
It wasn't, I will say though, it took, and the library's in a different case because there was a grant involved. And that was part of what started the whole thing, other than the fact that we had to, even before I was a trustee, the library had to move books out faster than they wanted to because the state requires a certain amount of purchases to be made every year. So in other words, if you don't buy enough books, you lose your accreditation, and then you're not a library as part of a big consortium of many towns. You're just all by yourself because you're not buying enough books. So there's like laws, regulations, for library.
they didn't care about that. Huh? They didn't care that you got all your books from the consortium. They
Well,
wanted you to
no.
buy X number here.
No, you have to, that's the law. That's the law, if you want to
That
maintain
sounds
the,
typical.
the Massachusetts Library, I can't, it'll be MBLC, whatever. But anyway,
Massachusetts
so,
Board of Library Commission.
plenty.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. So there was a problem with space to begin with, all right? And then one of the previous directors found out about the grants that come from the state. So everything slowly, materialized into, well, hey, we could go get one of these grants. So starting in 2008, when the previous trustees started thinking about it, up till about 2010, near the time when I was starting to think about, getting on the library board, they started putting the grant together. Okay, and then then you have to go through the whole grant process until you finally get selected. Okay, and then, when you find out, okay, we're gonna get a grant, then you find out that there's 35 other libraries that get grants too, and they slot you in a certain thing. So it would be a little bit different for a senior center. I don't know about grants, but that's another thing that has to be, did we ever check to see?
Do you happen to know why senior centers are not allowed to get grants?
They don't. They don't.
I saw it.
Do we know for a fact that we are not able
Emmett
to get one?
Marzo announced that at one of his training sessions, that they're not allowed.
Well, I don't know if, I'm speaking just as a private citizen, I don't know if allowed would be the right word, but maybe there just aren't any grants available.
Over a year ago, I saw where somebody, it was a lawmaker, had made a proposal to have some grants developed for seniors, the development of senior centers. But I don't think it ever
Well,
got
that would be one
approved.
of the first things
I remember seeing that and I thought, ooh, but I haven't heard any more about it and I haven't looked it up either, so maybe I should. So,
Well, if there is such a thing, we would be first on the list because we don't have a senior center.
I think we
really
have
don't.
moved beyond the
So-
Paul's presentation to what are we gonna do, and I think that needs to be something that needs to be more formalized. How do we set up a committee to start the process of making a determination as to when we?
and I think Paul also said it takes some thought. We need to, and I think you're right too. I agree. I don't know that we can do that today. Maybe people need to sit and process and think
Right.
about this. I mean, the Friends have received the information too, and so then we can come back next month and say, hey, we can put it down as a discussion topic on our agenda.
I would so move.
Okay. We have a little bit of a plan started, so let's go with that and,
And I have Paul's cell phone number.
And my email.
Poor
And,
man.
and she's our conduit, right? I drive by your house all the time as I go down to my end of the street. So, anyway, all right.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Thank
That
you,
was,
Paul.
yeah, it was good.
Ideas are easy. You got the hard work.
Well, you may have some other time.
the fire, that's what you did.
You have. You have lit the
And
fire.
I'll see you all. Merry Christmas.
Well,
Thank you, same to you.
I don't see you, until before January 5th. Have a great time in the warm climate.
Bye-bye.
That was very nice of him to come, I think, and to share his thoughts with us. Yes, Patty?
I think I was sitting, listening, which I have to do intently, as you know. He gave a very good presentation. And I know we talked to the friends. But as I sat here listening intently, one question that he posed stood out to me. Who's going to do the work?
I think
Which
that
is
was
a
all.
very profound question. And as I sat here, I was thinking, I think sitting around this table, we're not gonna get a lot of this. Not criticizing anybody, including myself. So, you just said, discussion next month at our meeting. I think we could all walk away and think about this very deeply. Community center versus senior center, combination thereof, neither, both, what have you. I was thinking, it might not be a bad idea to have a joint Friends COA meeting. And share, not immediately, but in a couple of weeks, maybe even before our council meeting, and share what we each think about this. Really think about it. Doing pros of this, cons of that. And thinking what Paul said. Who's willing to step up to the plate? In one group that consists of Friends member, COA member, that can be a spokesman for the group that can present something once we get our act together. Because that's the way I'm sure the library did it, but you've got to put it together first.
You need a steering committee. I think that's a good
But
description.
before we get to that, we've got to put our own
Correct.
thoughts together.
That's right.
But we don't want to wait too much longer because we've been talking, we want a senior center, we want a senior center. We've said that till we're all blue in the face, but I think listening to Paul, it's time for us to stop saying that. It's time for us to get
Action.
together and say,
We need
okay,
action.
then let's put our words to action.
But I'm also curious, Patty, and the rest of you, is that members of the Board of Selectmen have told me separately, Nancy, we're working on it. Well, I don't know what they're working on. I don't have a clue. We're working on it.
Well, what they're talking about is the Space Implementation Committee, but that's a different thing than what we're talking about. We're keying in particularly on what we want for a multi-purpose center, and for, let's say, the third building. And until we can clearly come across with what we need, what we want, neither the architect nor anybody else, the architect's gonna have to understand what we need. And to make sure that all of the parties involved have adequate, place in that new complex. And so I would move that we put on the agenda for next month a consideration of starting a task force of board and friends members and any others as are needed to set out a plan and strategy for obtaining the multi-purpose center as a part of the town reservation process for the Shadow Street complex.
Did you write it all down?
Of course he does.
Already.
You don't think that came right out of his mouth, do you?
Well,
I just read it.
I have a question. for
Yes.
Bob. When you say third building, what's the second building?
I'm sorry?
When you said third building,
Well, they're talking about 3 buildings. They're talking about the library, a town hall complex, and a multi-purpose center.
all right,
And we're talking about the
not in
multi-
that order though, if, so that's not necessarily in that order, it's just, this,
It-
Well, I'm just saying that there,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are the possibility of 3 buildings. But one of those is going to be a multi-purpose center, and we need to.
Community center.
Community center, and we need to,
yeah, in my opinion, that's more important than the town hall right now, because we have a town hall. It might not meet all our needs, but we really don't have a senior center or a
Well, I
multi-generational
would-
center,
yeah.
so my opinion would be that would be a higher on the list.
Right.
Now, I know the library has a grant, so if they have, somebody gonna give us $5 million, that might go a little higher right now because somebody's giving us $5 million, but if there was, you know, 1A, you know, I would say that,
yeah.
This
Well,
would be a
I'm not
priority in my
advocating
opinion.
one or other. I'm just saying we need to get a group together.
yeah.
Formed by board members, friends members, and any others.
Department
Might
of
need
Elder.
Park and Rec and so forth, to begin the process of saying when we want,
Yep.
how we want,
Yes.
what we want
Yes.
for a
That's a
multi-purpose
great
center.
idea, yeah.
And that's basically
did.
what I've said.
Just, yes, focusing, right. Focusing on a community center.
That's what
or
Patty said.
That's exactly right, right. So,
And
So here's the question to the board. Do we want to invite the Friends and Anthony and some other people that we think are important in trying to get a group together to meet before our next board meeting? Because if we wait till our next board meeting and then we discuss, oh yeah, we should really do that, yeah, we need to do, we've just wasted another whole month.
I hear what you're saying,
well, you,
but I was going by the chairman's suggestion that we needed to put it on the agenda for next month.
You can still put it on the agenda for next
I
month.
wasn't, pardon me for interrupting, I wasn't suggesting that we make it a board meeting, I was suggesting that we make it a separate meeting.
Right.
Just to deal with this particular.
That's what I thought I heard you say.
Yeah.
That is what I thought I heard
Because we
you
could
say.
spend a whole
Right.
morning
All right,
talking
who's
about this,
gonna
I
do
don't
this?
want it to be a
when
board
we do a
meeting.
group like that, does that have to become an open meeting?
Make it a
also?
special meeting.
I think.
I would think so.
Thoughts and,
We could do it just the Friends and the
Does this become a
COA.
subcommittee of this board?
I mean, that's what,
I think if you have enough people on your board, like a quorum, it has to be posted.
Yeah.
well, it has to be
That
posted
That does, well,
anyway.
and I
Yeah.
don't, it,
That's okay.
that, well, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm just trying to look at the legalities of it all too. So, and if it's a task force or a steering committee, what did the library do? When you were,
In regard to,
when you had your steering committee,
yeah,
the board of trustees,
I could
right?
change this and say,
Eh,
it is moved,
Wait a minute,
seconded,
wait a
and
minute.
voted to put, for this board to form a task force of board members and friends and others, and then we can move. If you
Well,
want-
can I finish
She
what I
didn't wanna
was-
do it this month. but-
No, I
Hold
was
on one
saying
second,
something
please.
and now I lost my train of thought because you interrupted me.
sorry.
So-
You were asking him about what the steering committee did.
Correct. Was that the process, do you know, David, when those meetings were held, they had to have been open meetings, correct?
yeah, oh yeah, all open.
Yeah, and were they posted meetings? Do you
Oh,
know?
yeah,
See,
they were
they're
posted,
not
they were-
town
they were
employees.
attending- We had different,
The library board,
The
the
town-
trustees, they get posted, their meetings are posted, are they
of
not?
course,
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah, but to check the town calendar.
okay.
And we're also on video.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, we had multiple meetings, okay, we had the town administrator there, we had a representative from Selectmen, we had, I think the fire department was in the building,
PMPC.
yeah, PMBC, and, there's another thing, planning board, all those people came in, we had some joint meetings, you know, when the grant was, before the grant was even granted, okay, when we started floating the idea of some kind of a building, whether it was gonna be an addition, or a separate library, or whether they were gonna tear down that end of the building and build a whole new one.
Which is essentially what we're dealing with too.
Right,
Is
and
it
it
gonna
was-
be a
but it
senior
was,
center or what?
You know, but it was the library trustees began that, okay, and then the town administrator suggested, well, you know, we really need to meet with everybody that would be concerned.
So,
So that's what we ended up doing, whatever was suggested is the way we went. And, you know, there were all kinds of twists and turns and things we had to do, okay, so it wasn't like, you know, there was any brilliant people down there, it was just kinda like, we gotta follow this maze, you know, and try and get to the other end.
which is exactly what we need to do, and we can do that with a mixed
And of course-
group of people.
And of course, now the
Yeah.
maze has just gotten turned into a whole can of worms because, you know, we're talking multiple buildings and everything has to happen and it's all a big circle going.
Well, we're just talking about a community center or a senior center.
Yeah.
Okay, one
So-
second, Patty's trying to ask a
I
question.
understand
I
that,
did- I just-
I will do, I wanted her, I just wanted to answer him.
Before we get to the maze, long before that, go back to the steering committee. That's what I'm trying to get.
Right.
Did the whole library staff,
No,
were they on, no,
Well-
let me, were they on the whole staff on the steering committee?
no,
No, okay. My point was, you have a Friends group and you have the Council of Aging. I was suggesting that the Friends group and the Council of Aging get together for a meeting, have a discussion about the senior center or the community center, whichever it may be, or they choose to be. And that group determines the steering committee.
Correct. I'm not opposed to that. That's what I suggested at the outset. I even suggested to the Friends already that that would be
Well,
desirable.
then that's the purpose of the next meeting before the
Right.
whole COA board.
And all I'm trying to figure out is whether or not that gathering, if there's only 2 or 3 COA board members there,
No, I
it doesn't
think it
have to
should
get
be-
posted as anything.
Just post a
I think
joint
it should
meeting.
be both
Joint meeting.
boards,
Post a joint meeting,
and then
pick a night.
choose the steering committee.
Pick a night, and you,
Yeah.
everybody meet.
The whole board of,
Today, I'm sorry, did I say night?
Yes, you said
Yes.
Oh my
night.
God.
our whole
Thank you
board,
for
the Friends
correcting me,
whole
Nancy.
board.
Well, I think it would be best to have everybody if we
Yeah.
could. So we
And then-
could just post a joint meeting.
Yeah, post
All
a
right,
joint
thank
meeting,
you.
and then invite selectmen, you know, it's difficult because they can't be available during the day.
Expand the steering committee.
Well, Joe Knox is often here.
Yeah, but no, if you post
No,
a
I know.
meeting, you can invite whoever and just have, you wanna just have open.
Right,
dialogue
okay,
and
all
have a
right.
discussion about it.
So
However,
that,
I think it will have to be after Christmas.
I do too, and we're not going to get it in December, I don't
Right.
think, so. Today is the
I know
10th.
Today's the 10th, so.
Yeah, no, that's pushing it a little, so I think.
So-
we'll
Right,
have
but
to-
our next meeting's not until
January
January
14th.
14th, so we have 13 days in January.
Right, and
To
we
do
can
what?
select.
To have a group,
Can't believe you asked
to
that.
have a group meeting
yeah,
But
with the
what-
Friends and the COA board, and maybe Anthony, and maybe a selectman, and maybe,
I don't think so.
I don't think so, I think
What
it
about
just
the
should be,
maybes?
Afterwards, just ask it
Oh,
together
no.
first.
Why not have a group from the Friends and a group from the board get together and sit down and say, who do we want to have on a task group? And then decide whether Park and Rec should be a part of it, whether the school, people from the school, because they're gonna be involved
All right.
with the physical situation.
no,
I'm
schools,
suggesting,
nothing.
I'm suggesting that we look at Monday, January 7th.
Yes, because you usually meet on Mondays anyway.
I have a question
and
first.
Yes,
When is Liz coming back?
14th of
14th.
January.
Sure would be nice if she could come to that meeting.
Well,
Sure would be nice if maybe even we waited till she was back.
she's gonna have, I thought about that. And my thinking is it's gonna be, you gotta give her a couple of weeks to get herself
on her feet
back
again.
and on her feet again. So if there was one, no, David, you don't agree with that, but I was thinking it would be
Well, we-
hard for her to jump in. If she comes back the 14th, that's our next board meeting anyway.
So,
She's not
We-
gonna even probably she might attend that.
we're the Council of Aging Advisory Board. Are we not? Is that our title, Advisory Board?
No, well, no, that's not, we're just the Council on Aging, but not advisory board. We are an advisory group, yes, but it's not, our formal title is just COA.
So we can't pass a regulation that would concern all of COA and have it stand, because it's Liz that does that. We advise her. Am I correct?
No, we don't advise her. We support her.
Okay, we
And
support.
we work with her.
That's even less than advise.
We don't advise her.
So
That's-
here we are going forward.
We suggest things to her,
So
yes.
here we are going forward before she's even back.
That's okay.
Can I just ask David a question? Can
Yes.
you-
If they just get together just to talk and kind
Yeah.
of throw out some of the ideas that were mentioned, there was standalone COA or multi-generational, maybe it's a good idea for everybody to kind of just talk and then pass that information on.
Brainstorm.
Just a little brainstorm session. It's not, it's just an opportunity to everybody in one room talking instead of.
We're not making decisions.
There's no decisions.
No, I understand that, I understand
But
that.
then
Well, can we at least email her and let her know that we're.
No, because she's not working right now, and we're not making contact with her. We shouldn't. be
Right, we
either.
are not, we
Well,
don't have any,
Surprise, surprise.
but we don't have any contact with Liz. She is on maternity leave.
Okay.
And so until
Not at
she
all.
comes back, right,
Okay.
until she comes back,
All right.
she's on maternity leave.
So,
Maybe if you put,
she-
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead, no, go ahead.
post the joint meeting, I'd recommend having it in a bigger location, maybe like the police station, and then have LCTV tape it, and then she can watch it when she gets back.
That's a good idea.
Then we'll have to be nice to each other.
But, and then my point is, she comes back the 14th, and then we can get her involved. I mean, at that point, because we perhaps will have come to some conclusions too, which would make it more meaningful and, for her. She has a wealth of information. I know she's supporting this whole concept, and so I know she will be fine, and she needs to be involved, that's for sure. So we need to help her. She can be out there doing, once she gets back, and she can be out there doing a lot of speaking, but we need to be working with her and supporting her and helping her with whatever.
Plus, you could bring back the results of that meeting to the Space Needs Committee.
Right.
And do an update there.
Right. So, everybody's right. I think we just have been struggling a little bit here because sometimes we're not hearing either too. So can we decide on the 7th of January is a Monday?
Sounds great.
Is that good? We will target the 7th for a joint.
Time,
What time would you like to have this meeting, in the morning or the afternoon?
I don't
I
know.
prefer in the afternoon,
Monday.
but
January, pardon me,
I know, he's
Hanley?
killing you.
I prefer afternoon, but I can do mornings too.
The time you normally have
1:30.
is 1:30.
1:30. We'll post a joint meeting. I'll find out if we can hold it at the police station. That's a great
So
idea.
just tell her you can.
At 1:30 on January 7th.
You can work with Diane and she can connect you with Nicole, at the police station, see if it's available that day.
January 7th, 1:30. Okay. I will follow through on that. If it's not possible at that time, I'll send an email out to everyone. Friends too.
I'll let the board know.
All right. I'll be in touch with you to get probably email addresses. Uh-oh, something's funny.
All right.
Lily's laughing. That's good.
Here's what I've got. It was moved, seconded, and voted to call a meeting on Monday, January 7th at 1:30 PM, composed of board members, friends members, and others as needed for considering creating a task force to set out a plan and strategy for obtaining the multipurpose center.
Great.
It'll be in this room?
Okay,
No.
No.
Police station.
It's going to be at the police station.
Well, we're going to try.
She's going to find out.
I'm going to try to get it there.
They won't let me out.
David, you can't make it that day?
The police station.
That's unfortunate.
I can make it in an evening.
No.
Evenings, no?
No,
All right.
no, I don't go out at night.
David, is there another
That's
time
1:30 in
during
the
week
afternoon.
you
It's not,
Fridays.
I thought it was at
You
1:30.
could do Friday.
That's what they asked.
Do we want to, I think David has a lot of good
I do
knowledge.
too. I think it's
So
important.
I think it's important that we try to make it so that he could be there. How about January 4th? Try that.
what is it, at what time?
It's a Friday.
Friday, 1:30,
1:30.
January 4th.
I can do that.
Can you do that, David?
Yep.
All right, let's try for that then. January 4th, Friday, 1:30. Thank you. I just think he's been through a lot of this, so it would be helpful.
Yep, I can do it. Can
Everybody
everybody
else
else
okay?
do it?
The 4th? Okay.
At the same time.
I'm gonna check with the police, I'm going to, Diane Dickerson's gonna help me to do this. But we will find out if we can use their room, and that's a good idea.
Who is going to send out the invitations?
Once we find, we solidify the place and time and date, I will send out emails about it to the members of the Friends and the COA board.
It's not gonna be on camera.
Yes,
Not
it will be.
Yes.
Yes,
At
it
the
will be.
police station?
Yes, it can be.
Why can't we have it here then?
Because it's
Too
not
many
big
people.
Too
enough.
many people.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
I move we adjourn.
I think we need to, first of all, we need a motion to accept the outreach workers' reports.
I so move.
Sorry,
Second.
I don't know if Bob's ready for that.
Go ahead.
All right, all those in favor of
Aye.
accepting the outreach reports? No one, that's unanimous, I think?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, do you want to move the second and vote, or you want to
Yes.
move and second to call a meeting on Friday, January 4th at 1:30 to compose the board members, Friends members, and others as needed to consider creating a task force?
Thank you.
Yes,
So moved. Are you moving that?
I'm moving.
Anyone seconding it?
Second it, please.
Second?
Thank you.
What did I just second?
All those in favor
Reading.
of a meeting, January 4th, all right? Ann Lee, are you in favor?
I'm
I'm
fine.
sorry, I missed you. Missed your hand.
No, I didn't.
Okay. That's a unanimous vote, Bob.
Mhm.
Now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
She's choking on it. Don't leave, please.
I need to ask you a question.
Second on that motion, please.
Second.
Patty, second. Ann Lee seconded. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.